In this episode, in a very small way, I'd like to honor two people that had a lot to do with education in Montcalm County, Kyle Hamlin and Steve Foster.
Welcome to the Discover Montcalm Podcast, where we are going to look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Weed.
Hello, and welcome to episode 123 of the Discover Montcalm Podcast. My name's Dwayne, and I'm the host and producer, and I'd like to welcome you to a show that talks about Montcalm County, the people, the communities, the attractions, anything that goes on with Montcalm County, you can find it here. And we're looking for guests like you who would share your experience about growing up in Montcalm County, running a business, being a part of our community. If you'd like to be on the show, give me a call at 231-250-9624. In this episode, in a very small way, I'd like to honor two people that had a lot to do with education in Montcalm County, Kyle Hamlin and Steve Foster. I had an opportunity to interview both these gentlemen, Steve in episode 7 and Kyle in episode 11. And in this episode, in a small way, I would like to pay tribute to them and take just a little snippet of who they are and what they had to say about living here, growing up here, and education in this county. Kyle, he passed away July 28th, 2024. He was 51 years old. Let's hear a little about him.
I moved to Montcalm County in 2008. So I was hired at Lakeview Middle School as a middle school principal. But prior to that, most of my life been in Jackson, Michigan. So it goes into why I choose education. I started about 21 years old. I worked as a child development worker, was what we called it.
Okay.
At the Jackson County Youth Center. So during that time, I realized many of the kids who were, incarcerated, so these would have been teenagers, didn't have a father figure at home, male role model, however you want to say that. And so that was kind of the nudge for me to go into education. So at that point, I switched from, I was looking at criminal justice psychology at that particular time. I was a college student, so I was 2 years in. And so at that point, I switched over to education. And so I ended up being, I was started as an elementary teacher. And then after a handful of years of doing that, I moved into administration. Took over as a superintendent in Lakeview in 2011. And so in 2020, after Ron Simon retired, I was hired as Montcalm Area ISD superintendent. So allowed me to stay in the community, still live in Lakeview, and just have a little longer commute to work.
That's not too bad.
No, not at all.
Not too bad at all.
So,
Who has inspired you most? If you could pick somebody that, either personally or professionally, who has inspired you?
I always tell a story when you start talking specifically about people, like when you were in school. So I had a high school principal, assistant principal, Bobby Tompkins was his name. So I was an athlete, played basketball. Bobby played basketball, played semi-pro ball over the years and played college ball. But he just had this great disposition about him. And so wasn't a really heavy-handed administrator. He was really relationship-based. Mm-hmm. And so if you ever were sent to his office, or maybe he'd talk to you about something you did, you just felt like you let him down. And so I knew, I didn't necessarily leave high school assuming I'd be into education.
Right.
That came later in life. But when I started working into that realm of being a teacher and being an administrator, I always remembered Bobby. So I would say Bobby was probably a driver in terms of somebody that I really tried to lock in how I carried myself as an administrator.
You've been in Montcalm County now for quite a few years. You call Montcalm County now your home. What does Kyle do for fun in this county? What are some attractions that you like about this county that you go out and do with yourself or your family?
For Montcalm County, I can tell you the one thing that I enjoy the most. I was a city kid, so I'll just my wife and I'll jump into the car at night, or our Ranger, and buzz around some of the dirt roads in the area and look for deer. Or at this time of year, you've got cornfields that are knee high to waist high.
Yep.
The breeze blowing, so I really just enjoy. I know there's a peacefulness to that. So for me, just trying to enjoy the moment and from a scenery perspective, looking for a deer. So we've got some great restaurants in the area. So I spend some time at those. I want to be cautious, not maybe singling one out versus any of the others.
I get that.
But so certainly those. And just spend a lot of time with family. That's kind of what we do. I will say, Anderson and girls, in Stanton is, particularly now that I'm a grandparent. So, getting to that stage in life where, I get to only enjoy the fun stuff and, maybe some of the bigger headaches, my son and his wife can handle that. But
I understand.
But yeah, no, there's a lot to do. But a lot of it is just enjoying the rural area and peace and tranquility that comes with that, and that certainly comes with Montcalm County.
Well, similar question, but I wanna end it here with, if somebody came up to you and was looking at coming into this area, or people were looking for things to do, why should someone discover Montcalm?
When I moved to Montcalm County in 2008, and I still believe this, it was significantly different from my experience as somebody who grew up in the Jackson area. And so I found that people in Montcalm County genuinely take an interest in you. And it was an adjustment for me. So I tell a story of when I moved into Lakeview. I'm driving around town. I come out of Lepping's, the store there in town, and somebody's like, "Hey, you're the new middle school principal. You drive this Dodge Charger." And I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute." So that was, people notice, people are attentive, but it was and then it struck up a conversation. It was a genuine interest in a new face. People are very welcoming. I found that, particularly during, if you see, and you hate to bring it up to potentially jinx anybody, but when crisis and tragedy hits, the outpouring of support and care is unlike anywhere I've seen before. So in terms of just neighborly and people taking care of you, Montcalm County has certainly exceeded any expectations that I would have had coming here. Not to mention just the natural beauty you have in the area, and there's there's a lot of great school districts here. So if you're looking for a quiet place to raise your kids, if you're looking for some peace and tranquility, people are going to care for you and take care of you and support you when you need it, whether it be neighbors or local schools. I think it's a great option for anybody who's looking for to be happy inside and outside of related to school districts.
For the full episode on Kyle, you can go back to episode 11. Next, I'd like to honor my friend, Steve Foster. I got to know him after I started doing videos for Greenville Tool and Die, probably in the late 80s, early 90s. And then ran into him many times after that. And every time we'd get together, we'd probably talk about video, because you'll learn more about that in this little snippet. But Steve passed away January 30th, 2025. He had done a lot with education in this county and really had his heart set on that. Let's listen and learn a little bit about Steve Foster.
Well, I remember it as being just a quaint little town, great place to live. Enjoyed growing up in Greenville. All of our peers and friends at that point in time, we all turned out pretty good.
At that point, you took off and you went to college?
Well, I thought I wanted to be an engineer, so I went to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
And after a year, I had second thoughts about that. And I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I came home, and Montcalm Community College was in, I think, the second or third year at that point in time.
What year approximately are you talking?
Well, I graduated from there in '68.
Okay.
So I went there in '67. And I went as a sophomore because I'd already completed a year of college.
Okay.
So got a chance to experience the smaller college, and I have to say that going to Montcalm Community College in that time, that was the most fun that I had in college and really enjoyed it. Was awarded the first Arts and Sciences Associate degree from Montcalm Community College.
Did you go to work in Greenville right away, or did you go out and spread your wings, come back? What?
71.
Was when you went to work at
Well, I went to work in building then, but it was 82 that I went to work for Greenville Tool and Die.
Okay.
I was there almost 33 years before I retired.
Now, Greenville Tool and Die, big business in Montcalm County. They've been there for, what year did they start?
1946.
1946. And I remember that's where I met you, was at Greenville Tool when I was doing some videos for them.
I think you were, that was early on in your career too.
Because I started my business in '83. No,
Yeah.
I graduated in '83, started my business in '84.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in the back in the VHS 3/4 inch days.
You did a company promo for us.
Yes, I
Yep.
remember that. So you were there, Greenville Tool and Die, Stan Ash, a big supporter for Montcalm Community College.
Education
Was
on
huge.
all levels.
Which I'm sure probably rubbed off on his employees.
Yes. Yeah, that was my job when I came there. That he told me that right up front, that
Yeah.
I was going to be the front man.
And what are some of the other involvements that you have in the county?
Well, education-wise, like I told you, I've been on the Education Foundation of Greenville for like 25 years now, and I really enjoy that. But
you saw that education was needed.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And from your involvement with being the front person on Greenville Tool and Die to working with the community college, graduating from the community college.
Well, Greenville Tool and Die was a skilled trade.
Mm-hmm.
We made stamping dies for primarily the automotive industry. That has all evolved over time, and I became very appreciative of the kinds of people that we had for employees that were so skilled, and they were skilled because of the apprenticeship programs that we had. That's how we trained our people. And for many years, I had 40 or 50 apprentices at Greenville Tool and Die taking related instruction classes at MCC.
I remember back when you were still working at Greenville Tool and Die, you had this love for the outdoors. You've always had a love for the outdoors.
Oh, yeah.
And you started, I remember some conversations where we talked about, okay, I think I want to go out and start videoing hunts, and I want to start doing this. And that has really, you kind of did it while you were working, and now that you're retired, you can, you're still working. Tell me a little bit about Foster Outdoor Productions.
Well, I started Foster Outdoor Productions in 2010, actually made it official. Just because I was doing some things then, and that was about 4 years before I retired. And when I retired, specifically, one of my ambitions was to have more time to get involved with it. You see so many things when you're outdoors, in a hunting situation or whatever, and most people, all they can do is come back home and talk about it, tell people about it. Well, I decided that, I would like to show people.
Well, the trades. I mean,
Trades.
We need that. Big time.
We don't need politicians and other things, but when we need a plumber or an electrician or something like that, we need, and all those jobs pay very well now.
They do.
They pay well. People can earn a very good living. I often said, Stan Ash used to say when he owned Greenville Tool and Die and was alive that tool and dyers could make anything.
In a small way, these are just small little snippets of life that each of these men had an opportunity to share with us about the county and things that go on. Again, Steve's episode is episode 7. Kyle's is episode 11. Go check them out in the full length and get to know these people a little bit more. It's with honor, respect, and sadness that these men are not here today. But their legacy lives on in a small way through the snippets of these episodes that we've caught. If you know anybody in this county that you'd like to see me interview to learn more about their story, the story of the county, the business, the industry, whatever they're doing, give me a call at 231-250-9624. 231-250-9624. I'd love to interview them and get this piece of history down on this county through the people. And I'd like to do it before they're gone. So give me a call. Remember, in all you do, to buy and shop locally in this county and support the activities and the people here, God bless.